Very early on in his career, Luke Kuechly established himself as one of the best linebackers in the league and among the best defensive players in the entire NFL. It is safe to say he was one of, if not the best linebacker of his generation. With his versatile skill set, elite athleticism, and football IQ, Kuechly was on a fast track towards Hall of Fame and all-time great status. As the anchor in the middle of that stout early to mid-2010s Panthers defense, Kuechly was a nightmare for opposing offenses and was a true sideline-to-sideline backer who could support in both the run game as well as coverage. However, in the middle of his prime, just 8 years into his pro career, Kuechly would decide to call it quits and make a shock retirement from the NFL, leaving many to wonder what could have been. In this video, we're going to take a look back at the career of Luke Kuechly from his meteoric rise to stardom, which included numerous accolades and a Super Bowl appearance, to what ultimately led to his decision to hang it up while at the peak of his powers. I'd appreciate if you considered liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Now let's get into it. Luke Kuechly grew up in Evendale, Ohio, where he attended high school and played football at St. Xavier. While in high school, Kuechly helped lead his team to a 15-0 record in a Division I Ohio State title. Despite his efforts, he was only ranked as a 3-star recruit and the 44th ranked outside linebacker prospect. Because of this, he had limited offers from the top D1 programs and would ultimately decide to play for Boston College. Once in college, Kuechly would make his presence known immediately, leading the team in conference in tackles as a true freshman and winning the 2009 ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year. Kuechly would go on to finish his college career as the school and ACC career leader in tackles with 532, while also tallying 35.5 tackles for loss and 7 interceptions. On top of that, he would win the 2011 ACC Defensive Player of the Year, along with the Butkus, Lombardi, and Nagurski awards. After cementing his status as a first-round pick, Kuechly would forego his senior year and enter the 2012 NFL Draft, where he would be taken with the 9th overall pick in round 1 by the Carolina Panthers. Similar to his time in college, Kuechly got off to a fast start upon entering the NFL. After an injury to the team's starting middle linebacker, Kuechly was moved from the outside into the middle linebacker role. From that point on, he would remain the team's starting middle linebacker and never looked back. Kuechly would lead the league in tackles over the final 5 games of the season with 59 and end the year with 164 total tackles, 1 sack, and 2 interceptions, earning him the 2012 Defensive Rookie of the Year award. Kuechly would take his play to a whole nother level the following year in 2013 and had arguably the best season of his career. The Panthers' stingy defense that year would finish second in total yards and points allowed that season, thanks in large part to the excellent play of Kuechly, which included a division matchup against the Saints, where Kuechly tied an NFL record with 24 tackles in a game. In total that year, he would record 156 total tackles, 2 sacks, and an impressive 4 interceptions. He would earn first-team All-Pro honors, and in just his second year in the league, would win the Defensive Player of the Year award, joining Lawrence Taylor as the only players in NFL history to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in successive seasons. After such a promising regular season, where the Panthers finished 12-4, they would unfortunately fall short against the Niners in the NFC divisional round, 23-10. Regardless, the Panthers were very optimistic about their future and were slowly building a contender behind their core of young superstars such as Cam Newton and Kuechly. And by this point in time, Kuechly had already solidified his place as one of the best defensive players in the league and would carry over that success into 2014. That season, Kuechly would lead the NFL in tackles with 153, along with 3 sacks and an interception. Once again, he would earn Pro Bowl and first-team All-Pro honors, along with winning the Butkus Award, becoming just the 3rd player in league history to win the award in both college and the NFL. After a shaky 7-8 finish to the season, the Panthers would still manage to make it back to the playoffs, but would once again fall short in the divisional round, this time against the Seahawks, 31-17. Despite this loss, the Panthers knew they were getting close, with Newton leading one of the most explosive rushing offenses, and Kuechly serving as the anchor in the middle of that now elite Panthers defense. It was only a matter of time before they got over the hump. And luckily for them, everything would come together the following season. Entering into the 2015 campaign, Carolina would reward Kuechly with a 5-year, $62 million extension, making him the highest paid middle linebacker in the league. However, ironically enough, Kuechly would suffer a concussion shortly after signing the extension, which would ultimately have major implications on the rest of his career. After missing the next few weeks, he would eventually return to action in Week 6 and would pick up right where he left off, continuing to display his elite athleticism and versatility. Despite missing time, according to PFF, through the first 12 weeks of the season, Kuechly's 17.6 run stop percentage ranked first for any defensive player regardless of position, while also winning PFF's Night Train Lane Award given to the defender who performed the best in pass coverage over the course of the season, as he led all linebackers in passer rating allowed into his coverage with just 48.7. Kuechly would end the 2015 season with 118 total tackles, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles, and 4 interceptions, earning him his 3rd straight Pro Bowl and first-team All-Pro nod. Behind Kuechly and the dominant Panthers D, along with league MVP Cam Newton, the Panthers established themselves as the best team in the NFL, finishing with an impressive 15-1 record to end the year. To kick off their postseason run, the Panthers would start by getting revenge against the Seahawks in an NFC divisional round rematch, where Kuechly would have 11 tackles and a pick six that would help seal the team's 31-24 victory. The following week, in the NFC Championship game, Kuechly would have another pick six late into the Panthers' 49-15 blowout victory over the Cardinals to help secure the Panthers' second Super Bowl appearance in franchise history. Heading into Super Bowl 50, confidence was high for this Carolina squad after steamrolling through the regular season and playoffs and were favored in their matchup against the Denver Broncos. This game would be a defensive showcase as it featured two of the best defenses of the early to mid-2010s, pitting the Luke Kuechly-led Panthers unit against the Broncos' elite 2015 no-fly zone. Although Kuechly had yet another impressive game, recording 10 total tackles and a sack, this game would be remembered for the elite play of Von Miller, who had one of the most dominant defensive performances in Super Bowl history. Miller's 2.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles were instrumental in Denver's 24-10 victory and earned him Super Bowl MVP honors. Luke Kuechly's 2015 postseason run was something to behold and was one of the highlights of his career, as he was a dominant force throughout, even in the team's disappointing Super Bowl loss. Unfortunately for that Panthers squad, Super Bowl 50 would mark the peak of that group's success, as they were never able to capture that same magic of the 2015 season, and things would gradually begin to fall apart in the coming years, starting the very next season in 2016. Even with Kuechly continuing his excellent play to begin the 2016 season, the Panthers would get off to their worst start since 2012, going 1-5 in their first 6 games. To make matters worse, Kuechly would suffer his second concussion in Week 11, causing Carolina's defensive star to miss the rest of the season. The Panthers would end the year at a disappointing 6-10 and miss out on the postseason. For Kuechly, even after missing the last 6 games of the year, he still managed to record over 100 total tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and an interception, while making his 4th straight Pro Bowl and earning a second-team All-Pro nod. After a disappointing 2016, 2017 looked to be a bounce-back year for Carolina, as they would get off to a strong start in their season opener against the 49ers. With Kuechly back in the lineup, it was business as usual, as he recorded 7 total tackles and an interception in the Panthers' 23-3 victory. However, after a hot 4-1 start to the year, Kuechly would suffer his 3rd concussion in as many seasons in a Week 12 matchup against the Eagles and would be placed into the concussion protocol. Although this was only considered a precaution, and no one knew it at the time, this 3rd concussion would prove to be a major detriment to the future of Kuechly's playing career. After eventually clearing the concussion protocol, Kuechly would be back for the Panthers' next game against the Buccaneers and was immediately back to full form, tallying 7 tackles and an INT in his return. As the year progressed, everything appeared to be back to normal, as Kuechly managed to stay healthy for the remainder of the season, finishing with 125 tackles, 1.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and 2 INTs, while helping lead the Panthers back to the postseason with an 11-5 record, before ultimately losing to the Saints in the wildcard round. Kuechly would be named to his 5th straight Pro Bowl and earned first-team All-Pro honors for the 4th time in his career. Despite making it back to the playoffs in 2017, things would really start to go downhill for Carolina, as that is the last time they've made it to the postseason. The 2018 season would see the Panthers finish the year at 7-9, finishing 3rd in the NFC South and once again missing out on the playoffs. However, as he had done throughout his career, Kuechly continued his excellent run of form and remained one of the few bright spots on the team. He'd be named to his 6th straight Pro Bowl and earn his 5th first-team All-Pro nod after finishing the year with 130 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an INT. The 2019 season would mark the end of an era for this Carolina team in many ways, as most of its 2015 Super Bowl roster was gone by this point. A new owner, David Tepper, who had purchased the team the year before, was looking to make changes within the organization. After getting off to a poor 5-7 start to the season, head coach Ron Rivera would ultimately be fired mid-season after 9 years with the team. Amid this turmoil, Kuechly continued to lead this Panthers defense and would make history in Week 5 when he recorded his 1,000th career tackle, becoming the first player in NFL history to do so in his first 8 seasons, and the fastest to reach that mark in only 107 games. That year, Kuechly would have 144 tackles and 2 interceptions. Despite his efforts, Carolina would end the year at 5-10 and miss the postseason for the 3rd time in 4 years. With the rebuild on the horizon, it was clear that many of the players on the team would no longer be on the roster next season. However, it came as a shock to the organization and the entire NFL when Luke Kuechly announced he would be retiring from football on January 14, 2020, due to the effects of his various concussions. At age 28, and only 8 seasons into his pro career, Kuechly would decide to call it quits. He would later explain his decision, saying the following: "I just remember after one game late in that season, I'm like, I just can't do it anymore. I can't play how I want to. I can't be as physical as I want to, because stuff was starting to happen. I just remember I got home that night, and I'm like, I can't do it." With the very real effects and consequences of CTE caused by concussions, Kuechly did not feel it was worth it to keep playing and risk his long-term health, bringing an end to his brief yet remarkable career. Even with his limited playing time, I truly believe Kuechly deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and in my opinion, it is between him and Bobby Wagner as the best middle linebacker of the last 10 years. When it was all said and done, Luke Kuechly would be an NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, a Defensive Player of the Year, 7-time Pro Bowler, 5-time First Team All-Pro, 2-time Second Team All-Pro, league leader in tackles twice, and would finish his career with 1,092 total tackles, 12.5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, and 18 interceptions. When I look back on his career, it makes me wonder how much more he could have accomplished if he had continued playing and where he would have ranked all time among some of the other greats at the position. Although I'm happy that he prioritized his health, I, like many others, would have loved to see how his career played out. On the other hand, few players get to go out on top while still at peak performance, so in that regard, he will always be remembered for his elite level of play from beginning to end of his career, which isn't often the case for most athletes. Luke Kuechly was truly a special talent and an exciting player to watch. He achieved so much during his brief time in the league, and in many ways set the bar for what success looked like at the position during his era. With all that being said, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know your thoughts on Luke Kuechly down below in the comments. As always, I truly appreciate you watching. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.